Vikings versus Chiefs.
Good morning, Gjallarhorn! The gang is back. We have Drew, wrong way, Ted, and myself, Dave, back for another preview game episode. This time, the Vikings travel down to Kansas City and meet in Arrowhead Stadium. It's a rare occurrence. The Vikings haven't played the Kansas City Chiefs all that often in the last 50 years. But it should be a good one. You have two playoff-bound teams meeting head-to-head on Sunday. The Vikings will travel, play outdoors, on grass. So it should be a challenge. But let's see. How you doing, Drew?
You know what? Can you drape a towel over that sweatshirt? I can't do a show looking at that all day.
Is it too bad I put on my other shirt?
Not you. Yours is not that. Yours doesn't say anything.
No, mine's just purple.
Oh, jeez. Good to be back on here with you guys. Looking forward to a good show. Looking forward to a big week. We've won 4 in a row. It's going to be a big test going into Arrowhead. Big test for Kirk. Big test for the offense. Big test for everybody.
I hear the birds are excited about it.
We're 6-2. Yeah, they're pretty excited today. We're 6-2. We're heading into the second half of the season. So season's flying by though, man. Too fast.
Well, first off, I want to pull a Kirk Cousins. I want to apologize to you, Drew, over the last week's show. Kirk Cousins did play better than I thought. I saw something, and I went through into deep dive into the stats and into the film and found out what I did see. But Kirk Cousins was like 86% on his pass receptions. And I do want to apologize to you for
Don't
that.
apologize to me. Call him. Apologize to him. Wait, no. Call him and say something mean to him and piss him off. I'd rather you did that.
Well, that I could, because there was something I did find. Now, we all were thinking after last week's game that the O-line didn't play so hot. Well, looking up the pressure numbers, they actually did decent. But I did a deep dive to see what in the world it was that I saw, because I was quite vehement in the Raw game.
Oh, it was the alcohol you saw.
Well, that's
another
true.
way.
That was a good.
That's another way of saying you were wrong, buddy.
I was wrong. Kirk Cousins threw for over 88% completion rate. Out of 23 out of 26, one drop, 2 throwaways, which were fine. But what I saw was the checkdowns, and I even mentioned that. I looked at what I found was I looked at the air yards. How many throws over 10 yards did he make? And he only attempted 4. And it led for air yard average of 3.69 yards per attempt, which is one of the lowest of the season. And it matches the low ones when he was bad Kirk, and we were about ready to shit can him. What made up the difference, though, was the yak. The Vikings got their highest volume of yards after catch in Thursday's game at a 66.32% rate. And that made it up, because it wasn't the line play. He was only under pressure 26.92%, which is not that bad. It's actually one of the better games. He'd been higher in the last 2 previous games. But it came down to not throwing past that 10 yards. Now, what I think it was Kansas City came out in a normal 2 high safety configuration.
In Washington.
Washington, yeah. Washington came out, and Kansas City may too. I don't know. But they came out in a 2 high safety configuration. Well, he's been playing against a 1 high safety where they bring in the other safety to fill the box to stop Dalvin Cook. Because, of course, stop the run, make Kirk Cousins win. Well, I think that went off script. And we know when he goes off script, he tends to get a little slow in his reaction and he vapor locks a little bit. And his default throw when that happens is the check down. And that's what I saw. But he did have a good game. I mean, he didn't throw any bad passes. I can't fault him for that. And for that, I apologize to you, Drew, and of course to Ted, who is agreeing with Drew. Ted, how you doing?
That was a lot of nerd stats to say you were wrong, brother.
Yeah, that was pretty nerdy.
Woo!
I accept the apology, but you don't have to ever apologize to me. I don't like.
How am I always? If I was any better, I'd be against the law. Let's light this candle.
There we go. Now we're off. We're off and running.
All right, Ted, how do you think this game this week down in Kansas City is going to go?
My gut tells me the Vikings will lose.
Why?
Look at this.
There's got to be a brain reason behind that, too.
The tendency for the Vikings defense this year has been to start off slow. They got away with it against the last four opponents, which were, help me out here, the Giants, the Redskins, and Detroit. If you get off slow on the road in that environment, possibly with Patrick Mahomes as the quarterback, although their backup, his name is right there on the tip of my tongue.
Matt Moore,
who the last time he played the Vikings literally just absolutely lit the Minnesota Vikings up, by the way, with Carolina. Of course, that was a lifetime ago, but it doesn't matter. Anyways, you get off to a slow start in that environment, it would remind me very much of the Chicago game. Now, the main difference between that Bears game and this game is that the Chiefs defense, and Drew, I'm sure you'll get in the numbers, is not very good at all. So the Vikings would be able to probably catch up and match. I'm still not comfortable about getting in a shootout with that, which is really good and can kill you with multiple ways. Their receivers are ungodly fast. Tyreek Hill and Mecole Hardman, I don't know that the Vikings secondary can keep up with those guys. The Chiefs' offensive line is very good, so I think they'll be able to buy Matt more time. This is just a matchup that just does not seem very favorable for the Vikings, at least for the Vikings defense compared to the Chiefs' offense, the way those two units have been playing. And I think when you add in the element of the Chiefs playing at home, it's going to be a tough hill for the Vikings to climb.
Because there is a difference between the Vikings road team, especially the defense, and the Vikings home team, especially the defense, and how they played this year, and it has been for many years.
Yeah.
So I can understand that gut feeling. How about you, Drew? What are you thinking?
I kind of right along the same lines as that. I mean, I watched Matt Moore play last week against that team from Wisconsin, and to be honest, usually when a starting quarterback goes out, like when, of course, nobody wants to face Mahomes, but there didn't really seem to be that much of a drop-off. I mean, I don't think Matt Moore is the playmaker Mahomes is, but he was still running that offense really well. So I don't think we gained much of an advantage there. And I think that's mainly because of those wide receivers. Those wide receivers, bubble screens, wide receiver flat-out screens, slants, all they I would be hard pressed to say if they lost Hill or the other guy that Ted just mentioned, Hardman, they'd be worse off than losing Mahomes because they run everything through those wideouts, everything in Kelce. You got to add him in there.
Yeah.
It's the tight end and the two wideouts. I'm not worried about their run game.
Well, speaking of the wideouts, I was looking at the percentages of how much they run and pass. And the Vikings are almost dead even. They're just under 51% run and lower 49% pass. Whereas the Chiefs are in the 60% pass range, and the rest is 30-some-odd% run. It's a huge difference.
Yeah, the Chiefs' rushing game is only 27th in the league. So I'm not, they're 27th in the league. They only get 80 yards a game rushing. If they're going to move the ball, it's going to be through the air. But, Kelce, you guys know the Vikings are notorious for giving tight ends huge games. Mm-hmm. And that's not the guy you want running through, getting 8, 9 catches in the first half, running through the seam and catching passes and running the offense. And they got to get a handle on on him and, of course, Tyreek Hill. But the Chiefs' offensive line has only given up 11 sacks all season. So,
that'll change.
Part of me would say if you can't, I think
in the game.
We want to say it comes down to pressuring the quarterback. We say that every week, but this is more than. I mean, this really holds true this week. If we don't get in there on Moore and we pull a Chase Daniel with him and let him just rifle the ball around the field, we can't get in a shootout with these guys because our bread and butter is running the football. I wouldn't really mind a couple 10-minute drives Sunday just to keep, whether it's Moore or Mahomes quarterbacking, get their offense on the sidelines. Leave them on the sidelines where they can't hurt us. Hill can't hurt us if he's on the sidelines. So maybe some long, drawn-out drives may be the strategy to help a victory this week. I don't know.
I will say the Vikings offense is suited to match up very well against the Chiefs defense, and if they can eat a lot of clock, that's a really good point, Drew. If they can eat a lot of clock and keep the Chiefs offense off the field, I think they'll have a decent chance. But if you want to get into what they call it, basketball on grass shootout, like Joe Tiller's Purdue offense back in the day, you're gonna have a bad day.
Holy shit! A Joe Tiller reference?
You just are. Yeah, how about that? Huh?
The Chiefs are 30th in rush defense. There's only 2 teams worse than them. They give up 145 a game on the ground. So, yeah, if we really want to win the game, run long, drawn-out drives that end in touchdowns, leaving Hill on the sidelines. Watching football 50 years, you have to see a guy score a touchdown from the sidelines. Get him on the sidelines.
Yeah.
Well, so your game plan is run to set up the pass and use the pass efficiently where we're not running and just march it down, take it nice, slow, and easy.
Yeah, I mean, everybody would like a quick strike 80-yard touchdown. Points are points, right? I mean, if that happens, that happens. But our best bet for a victory is having our offense out on the field. And then, of course, maybe you can't kick field goals like we did last week. Who is that in the picture right there?
That's my cat.
Oh, cool. Cat, what do you think?
Cat don't care about football.
The Vikings have to finish a little bit better down at the other end. I don't know what was happening against Washington, but settling for all those field goals. Not to take anything away from Bailey. He was doing his job. But you can't beat the Chiefs kicking field goals all day.
No.
The Chiefs, to me, guys, whether it's Mahomes or Matt Moore, they're going to be around 24 to 30 points. That's how I see it.
And Drew, you brought up a good comparison with Matt Moore and Chase Daniel. Chase Daniel picked apart the Vikings defense. And if everybody thinks this is going to be a cakewalk because Pat Mahomes is more than likely going to be out, you're in for a rude awakening. Matt Moore's. I mean, he played a very good game against a pretty good what Green Bay has on Sunday night, and were it not for a pretty sorry Chiefs defense, he would have beaten them. I will say that Chiefs defensive performance gave me hope that the Vikings can go in there and put some points on the board. The big thing for me is turnovers. When the Vikings get on the road, they just seem to become turnover machines. If they can eliminate that and Dalvin Cook can get going pretty early, they have a chance to have a really good day. But I still, though, my gut tells me the Vikings on the road are different than the Vikings at home, and hopefully the home team will show up in Kansas City. The way the home team plays will show up in Kansas City. But until it happens, I'm not going to take that for granted.
Part of me is in full agreement with what Ted started out with because we've seen so many Viking games. You start out with a tip pass that gets picked off. Hill gets a lucky run to the end zone. They kick off. We fumble. And then one thing after another. And then we're down a bunch of points, and then we start playing. That's happened so often on the road with the Vikings where they just make so many mistakes they have to dig their way out of a hole. And this is the stadium that could really happen. And things can go haywire pretty fast in Arrowhead.
Yeah, especially when that crowd, if that happens and the crowd gets into it and, you got 110, 115 decibels and the stadium's just literally shaking. It's hard to win games in the NFL. It's especially hard to win on the road. and it's damn near impossible to win games on the road in the NFL when you put yourself in a 14 or 17 point hole early in the game. It just is.
Right. I don't. Being that we're 6-2, do you guys feel like we have any wiggle room? I mean, this would be a little different game if we were 4-4. It'd be a lot more pressure for us to win. Not to say there's any wiggle room in the NFL. Every loss can be a ball buster. But do you guys feel at 6-2, do you have any wiggle room to lose this game and come back next week, or
No.
No,
not at all.
I disagree. They go 4-4, and we're still going to end up 10-6, which should make the
playoffs. But 10
usually a wild card.
10 and 6 ain't going to do it this year, boys.
Yeah.
Seattle's 6-2. San Francisco's undefeated. The Packers are 7-1. I mean, if we were in the NFC East, okay, but we're not. We're going to be a 5 or 6 seed, probably at 11-5, if not 12-4.
Normally, it does get you in. 10 is like what, 90%, but not this.
Well,
not in the
we'll
NFC.
See. But I don't think we're going 4-4 over the last 8. I think we may go 6-2.
I'm a little concerned about the offensive line, too. Kansas City has 25 sacks on the season, which is 2 more than the Vikings. So they know how to pressure. I know Frank Clark didn't play last week, but, they were pressuring against the team from Wisconsin as much as I've seen even without Frank Clark. So I'm kind of worried about our O-line because of the way we played against the Redskins. I don't know how you guys feel about that. Maybe they'll have a bounce-back game.
I saw a thing where halfway through the season, PFF, Pro Football Focus, has the Vikings is just outside the top 10 in terms of offensive line at 11th overall. And I got to say, the offensive line, save for a couple really bad games by Pat Elflein, has been a lot more consistent and a lot more better, especially over this last month or so of football.
Why does it feel so that it's not to me? Just because I'm used to him being shoddy?
I actually think it's been pretty good. I mean, look how well the running game has been pretty much all year.
Yeah, I mean, the running game is A+, but the pass protection is good. Something about that Skins game, they were getting too much penetration right up the middle, and it didn't sit well with me.
Yeah, but they only got just under 27% pressure, which is lower than it was the previous 2 weeks.
Maybe I'm just isolating on a few plays, but it looked like they owned the line of scrimmage against us.
Especially when they came up the middle. But
no, you're right. They did, Drew. It was as bad as it's been over that 4-game winning streak.
What have you guys heard about Thielen? Is he coming back this week?
He was out practicing today, and he had the tension band hooked up to his back where the trainer pulls on him as he runs.
Okay.
So
it's okay.
They're thinking so.
It's okay if he doesn't play. Josh Doxson is back, and he'll be the cure that what ails us.
Did they promote anybody to the 53 today?
They designated Doxson from IR, so I think they have.
Because I know there's everybody comes back and they've got that 2 or 3 week window.
Yeah.
BS.
The bottom line is no. Doxson has not been put on the 53-man roster, but he's now eligible to practice, and I think,
like everybody is.
Like Zimmer said today, they think he'll be ready, not for the Kansas City game, but for Dallas in like a week and a half or whatever. So it's probably going to be, once they do activate Doxson, I would imagine Davion Davis will be the guy they cut and put back on the practice squad.
Especially after this last weekend.
Well, I ask about Thielen because we got the 3rd-ranked offense, which is the Vikings, against the 5th-ranked offense, which is the Chiefs. So if this goes down shootout alley, I'd like to have some Adam Thielen out there playing. If it does end up going down, Thielen thrives with shootouts, man.
And he was sorely missed. He was sorely missed last week. You talked about the Vikings not being able to convert in the red zone. I think if Thielen had played that game, 4 of those field goals would only been probably 2 field goals. A couple more touchdowns with Thielen.
Mm-hmm. Easy. On top of Diggsy's 140 average for the last 3 weeks. Over 140 yards. That was amazing. But no, I agree with you on that. If he's back, that opens up a boatload of stuff. And where were we ranked offensively? Drew?
Third overall. We're the number 16 passing attack, and of course we're number 3 rushing attack. We're always behind Baltimore and San Francisco. But we're running the ball at 160 yards a game. You're running the ball for 160 yards a game, you should be 6-2, if not better. Yeah. Because you're controlling every other aspect of the game. You're controlling the time of possession. You're controlling how much the other team has their offense out there. Chiefs are all wound around their offense in their passing game. Like I said, they're 27th running the football. They got LaShawn McCoy, who's 73 years old and tends to fumble. They got, their scoring defense is only 17th. They give up 23 points a game. The writing's on the wall for how Zimmer should be scheming this team. You can't let Hill take over the game and Kelce. You can't do it. No. And if the Vikings can afford that first quarter full tilt boogie freaking out, getting to a hole bullshit, I think they'll be all right. Well, I really wouldn't mind this game. I wouldn't mind this game being 14-14 at the half. I'd feel better about that because then we got a little bit of, we're not in that big hole trying to climb back out.
But and I agree 100%. But for me, it's until they prove they can not start out slow. I'm just kind of wired to think they will. I mean, they've done it every road game this year so far. Well, with the exception of the Giants, it's just aggravating.
I don't know what it is. I mean, you talk to Herm Edwards, he's all about how you're what the coach is. You either coach it or you're allowing it to happen, one of the two.
Yeah.
But they start out like in Soldier Field, that first drive, Truskitsky fumbles. Everson Griffin picks it up. That's what we need to take the momentum right off the bat, and then we have a penalty. We had it. That whole game would have ended up differently, I guarantee you. So the Vikings have got to start a game with that kind of a play. They need a splash play on defense rather than giving the other team 7 first downs. You can't do it.
No.
They can't do it. They can't turn the ball over, and they got to be aggressive, I think, on defense. And you got to come after the whoever the quarterback is, even if it's Mahomes, he's going to be limited. They're not going to beat you with the run. They're going to beat you with Hill. So that guy, I can't even tell you how you start covering that guy.
I got nothing, man.
There's nothing he can't do. He's not a one-trick pony like Cordell Patterson. This guy can do everything.
Yeah.
So the game plan's got to be wrapped around him, but first half's going to be the game, boys. I mean, second half's going to be anybody's game if we keep it close. So
I would agree 100%.
We have improved defensively from one week to another, though. Last week we were 6th overall. This week we're 5th. Last week we were 15th in pass defense, and somehow we end up 8th this week.
Really?
Yeah, we end up 8th at 224 yards a game. We're exactly the same kind of rush defense. The Vikings, overall 5th. Pass defense, 8th. Rush defense, 7th. Scoring defense, 3rd. I mean, those are top-notch numbers. So, as much as we bend but don't break, this is going to be a good test, a good challenge for our team. I'm looking forward to this game.
We'll see what happens. I just, these next 2 games, if they can split these next 2 games with Kansas City and Dallas, I'm going to feel pretty confident about them getting to the postseason. If they, kind of play like they have against good teams on the road in recent seasons, then I'm just going to think same old Vikings.
Yeah, but if Kirk stays hot, don't you think they can pull it out?
Oh, yeah. They definitely have the horses to run with Kansas City. If they want to play shootout, they can play shootout if Kirk Cousins is the guy we've seen over the last month. I agree 100%. But the guy we've seen over the last month is not the guy that we've seen against good teams on the road.
Right. That's huge. That's huge right there.
So, if that Kirk Cousins shows up, the Vikings are going to get the brakes beat off of them. They just are. And then we're going to be back. We're going to be back right to where we were at the end of the Chicago game. What are we going to do? Oh, woe is us. That guy sucks. We got another, 23 games left. And then we got to, let's talk about drafting a quarterback in the first round. I mean, I can see this playing out. If the Vikings win, it's going to be unicorns and rainbows, boys. And the Vikings lose, it's going to be we're out of the playoffs, and let's talk first-round quarterback drafts. Let's go. There is no middle ground these next 2 weeks. None. Zero, zip, nada, zilch.
That's a good rant right there. That is a damn good. That's a Game 7 rant with two sight. That's a Game 7 rant with two young guys on the mound tonight, baby. I agree with everything that man just said. You know, one week Ted's going Miami, baby, and then you look back on the other shows. You know what? I'm officially off the Kirk Cousins bandwagon. I'm off the Mike Zimmer bandwagon. I'm off the Chris Spielman bandwagon.
What do you say, Mike? Nice game, Mike.
It's gonna wins and losses are gonna fluctuate. You said it perfectly. That's exactly how everybody feels about it all.
Well, in a conversation on Twitter I've got this good Kirk, bad Kirk indicator thing going. But if he takes us all the way to the promised land and wins, all's forgiven.
Build him a statue.
Yeah, all will be forgiven.
Build him and his conversion van a statue. Do it.
Yeah, and it'll work. I'll even design it and do the artwork for it if they want. So, Drew, have you got any Vikings versus Chiefs trivia to throw on Ted?
You guys want to do some trivia?
Let's do it.
Do we have a song? Dave's your lifeline. You get one mulligan for each question. This is going to take your mind. It's going to take your brain. It's going to take your wit and your wisdom and everything that you hold sacred. Even Susan Sarandon. Okay, let's get started. Number one.
All right.
You have a possible of like 80 points. Your record's 29. So here we go. We're going to start off going back to 2003 when the Vikings hammered Kansas City 45-20 at the Metrodome.
Okay.
Each team had a running back rush for 3 TDs that day. Can you name the running backs?
In 2003. So let's see. That's the Mike Tice era. That would be Michael Bennett for the Vikings?
Incorrect.
Really?
Well, he was there, but he didn't get the 3 touchdowns. You're gonna be pissed when you find out who it is.
Ontario Smith. Ontario Smith.
Do you know the Chiefs guy? We salvaged 1 point out of that.
Yeah.
Well, if you don't answer, that's not incorrect. It's only incorrect if you do answer. So Dave could probably.
Dave, no? You got any idea who the Chiefs guy was?
No, not really. Mahomes.
Yes, Priest Holmes.
Priest Holmes. Oh, duh, yeah.
Dave, strike up the band for Charlie Daniels. You just got your first point.
Good job, Dave.
Name the 2 starting quarterbacks in that game for 2 more points.
2003. That would have been Dante Culpepper for the Minnesota Vikings.
Ding, 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 ding.
For the Kansas City Chiefs, 2003. Man. What do you think, Dave?
He's in the booth doing play-by-play now for Fox.
Well, that blows.
Oh, Trent Green.
There you go.
I'm
going to get good because you got it with the hint. All right, that's 3 to start out.
I don't know that many Kansas City Chiefs quarterbacks.
Next question. Back during that horrible first Super Bowl, that's when you cue in the
yeah.
Lost to Kansas City in 1970. It was from the 69 season. The Vikings only scored 1 touchdown in that game. Who and how did it happen? Who got the touchdown and how did he do it?
For the Vikings, it was a rushing touchdown by Dave Osborne.
There's for 2 points. Excellent. 2-pointer. Give me the head coaches and the starting quarterbacks for each team.
From Super Bowl 4?
Yes.
That would be for the Vikings, Bud Grant. Quarterback was Joe Kapp.
Excellent.
For the Kansas City Chiefs, that was Hank Stram.
Excellent.
And Len Dawson was the quarterback.
And what show did Lenny Dawson host?
Inside the NFL.
Yeah, dude. That's 5. That's 7 points.
I should get a bonus point for answering Nick Bonacani as his co-host on HBO, which would be another bonus point.
Snap! This ain't the Wisconsin Badgers. I ain't giving you a bunch of So the first two questions, you got a total of 10 points. Well done.
All right.
All right. I'm thinking of three players that both played for the Vikings and the Chiefs. One was a running back, one was a defensive end, and one was a kicker. 1 point for each correct answer.
Jared Allen.
Running back, because we talked about this a couple weeks ago. Tony Richardson.
There's two.
Who was the guy you said?
I said Jared Allen, defensive end.
Jared Allen, and then Jan Stenerud.
There you go.
Bing, 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 bing. Milk the cow, baby. 3 points. What was the name of the horse that used to circle the field in Kansas City every time they got a touchdown in the 70s?
I didn't even know that happened. I'm going to say Traveler.
No.
No, I remember that. I want to say Silver, but I don't think it was Silver.
So both good guesses, Traveler or Silver. The name of the horse was Warpaint.
Yes, that's right.
Warpaint.
Ever have a chance to see John Madden tell that story about Warpaint? YouTube it and watch it. They got beat like 62-3 1 week by Kansas City. Yeah. And he said Warpaint was kill that horse because they had to do like a bunch of laps. It's a classic. If you ever have a chance to check it out. All right, so you get one for that. The Vikings have only won one time in Kansas City. One time. Man, it doesn't bode well for Sunday, does it? Can you name the year?
1974.
That is damn good knowledge right there for a point.
Damn, that's a long time ago.
Yeah.
From that 1974 game at Arrowhead, can you name the wide receiver for the Vikings who caught 2 passes from Fran Tarkenton that day for touchdowns?
John Gilliam.
Incorrect.
Ahmad Rashad.
Incorrect. Sammy McCollum caught a 34-yarder and a 10-yarder.
All right.
Also, 3 different Viking running backs had touchdowns that day. We laid it on them, 35-15 that day. So can you name, you get a point for each running back you can name that had a touchdown that day. And I'm going to give you Jeff Mulligan. One of them was not Chuck Foreman.
Really?
That's who you're going to guess, I know.
That was going to be one of them, yeah. Okay, so Ed Marinaro.
He did score that day. Eddie Marinaro.
Dave Osborne.
Ah!
No?
No. Dave? This guy fumbled against the Raiders.
Brett McClanahan.
McClanahan. The other one was the Big O, Oscar Reed.
Oscar Reed. Yeah.
Okay.
This leads us into the final Kansas City question, because we always do one from the other team. All right. Kansas City's so damn insignificant. I had a hard time looking shit up. Every year, Kansas City takes one player from 1970. They've done it all the way up to this year. They take one player and they put him in their own personal Chiefs Hall of Fame. So from 1970 to 2019, you get a point for every guy you can name. And this list includes players, coaches, or executives.
All right. So, Len Dawson.
Lenny Dawson is on there. Yes.
Hank Stram.
Bobby Bell.
Bobby Bell is on there. Hank Stram is on there.
Stram. Lamar Hunt.
Lamar Hunt is on there.
Ed Podolak.
Ed Podolak, number 14, my man. Remember Eddie Podolak? He's really good.
Let's see. Did I say Bobby Bell?
You did say Bobby Bell.
Willie Lanier.
Willie Lanier is on there.
Fred the Hammer Williamson.
I don't see him on here.
Oh, well. So that's my mulligan.
Kicker we mentioned, Jan Stenerud.
Oh, Jan Stenerud. Yeah, he's got to be on there.
He's on here. I'm really surprised Freddie Williamson isn't on here. Maybe he had all those years with the Packers or something and they give credit for that. Jan Stenerud is on here, yes. Excellent.
Then the human joystick. I'm forgetting his name. Their kick return.
Dante Hall? But Dante Hall was played in the 90s, not 1970s.
Okay.
No, this list includes 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, and 2010s.
Okay. So,
I'm sorry, I didn't really explain it. Yeah, players all the way up to like Will Shields is on there, Priest Holmes is on there.
Okay. All right. So then, is Joe Delaney in there? Did they put Joe Delaney in there?
Yes, the late Joe Delaney. Rest in peace. Sad story with Joe.
Derek Thomas is in there. He's got to be.
Yes, he is in there.
Tony Gonzalez?
Yes, Tony Gonzalez is in there. He's the last one. They did his number last year, his name.
Will Shields? Did we mention Will Shields?
Will Shields is on there. 2012, they put him in.
Dave mentioned Priest Holmes.
Yes. Priest Holmes is on that list.
We said Hank Stratton. Would Marty Schottenheimer be in there?
Also another running back that you guys mentioned earlier in the show that's on there. Yes, Marty Schottenheimer is in there.
Really?
He's Schottenheimer.
2010, they inducted him into their own personal Hall of Fame.
God, who the running
back? It'd be
back?
like Andy Reid. Gets there all the way to the top and then fails.
The running back that played for both the Vikings and the Chiefs is in there.
Tony Richardson.
Yes.
Really? Cool.
Yes. 2016, they put him in there. Man, they had a lot of really good players. Now that I sit and look at this list, jeez, man.
I still remember when Joe Montana went to the Chiefs. And
he is not on here.
Well, no, he wasn't there long enough. But he and Roger Craig, and they went in overtime with Kansas City in the battle and the back and forth.
What about that wide receiver that busted our balls in the Super Bowl? You know he's in there.
Oh, yeah. What's that dude's name? I can't remember what his name is.
Joe Bag of Donuts?
That's it. Otis Taylor.
That's it. Yeah.
Wow, you guys did really good.
So, yeah. That's about it. That's about all I know for Chiefs. Chiefs stuff.
Some notable name. Are you done? Dave didn't get his.
Yeah, I'm done. I don't.
So 15, your record's 29. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. They tied it.
Oh, man.
Total dates you missed was Christian Okoye.
Oh, the Nigerian Nightmare. How did I not get that guy?
I had a star next to his name because I knew you'd get that one. You never did. Johnny Alt, Neil Smith.
Oh, yeah, Neil Smith was good.
Curly Culp, the great Curly Culp.
Yeah. Curly Culp.
Yeah, but I thought he got it for the Packers.
Nick Lowry, Gary Barbaro, Art Still, Jack Rudney, the old center, Jim Tyner, Mike Garrett, the running back.
Mike Garrett is the running back in Super Bowl IV. He's the guy that did 65 toss power trap. 65 toss power trap.
And the biggest name you left off here was Emmett Thomas, who might be the greatest Chief defensive player besides Lanier played. Emmett Thomas was the shit.
And he was and Emmett Thomas was on the Vikings coaching staff back in the day too. I think he was like the secondary coach or something. I'd have to look it up. Positive he was on.
You know, we may not have any Super Bowls, but we had some damn good coaches, didn't we?
Yeah.
Tony Dungy, Billick, Tomlin.
Pete Carroll.
Everybody that's won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, Tomlin. Yeah.
I say, for Chiefs knowledge, you guys did damn good getting 29. That was well done today. I didn't think you had a record.
With that, let's wrap this puppy up. What are the last words have you got going into Sunday's game against the Chiefs? Ted? Drew? What are you?
Super Bowl homeboy, we'll see you in Miami.
Time of possession.
I like that one.
I'll leave it with that. We win the time of possession. We are the win the ganga.
and the turnover battle. Don Glover story, since we're talking about the Chiefs.
Make it quick.
Give me a Don Glover story.
All right, so we talked about Super Bowl IV.
Yes.
My dad was convinced, and I've told you guys this. I don't know if I mentioned it on the show before. My father was convinced the Vikings, and particularly Vikings all-time hero Joe Kapp, was paid money under the table to throw that game. And I was too young. I was only 2 when that game went off. But my dad says, you watch that team play those regular season games, the playoff games against the Rams and the Browns, and there was no way that team could have played like that, especially Joe Cap, because I think he said Joe Cap had 6 interceptions in that game. He said, "I'm sorry, there were players on that game, on that team in that game on the take."
Really?
I will go to my grave believing that. And you look at the way Joe Cap played, and then, as my father said it, he pushed out, said he hurt his ribs, and didn't play. I'm telling you, he said, Vikings were on the take that game. They should have beat the pants off the Chiefs, but Joe Cap was on the take. And that's going to incense a lot of Vikings fans, especially old school guys,
right,
that remember that team. But well, my dad got worked up about that. He said that was the one team, that was the best Vikings team that will ever be until they win a Super Bowl. And they might even be better than some team that wins a Super Bowl one day. He said, and my reference was always 1998. He said that 69 defense was as ferocious as the 1998 offense was explosive. There was no way that should have happened unless people were on the take in that game.
Wow.
So
wow, that is. I'd have to defer to him because I didn't start watching football till after that. So everything I know about that Super Bowl, I have to look back and watch from highlights. But
yeah, so
I trust Don Glover's judgment on something.
It's also my spicy hot take for the week too. Don Glover's spicy hot take.
I don't have a spicy hot take. Although Tony Bell swears by that team being the greatest Viking team ever also. So between Tony Bell and Don Glover, that's enough for me. That's all I need to hear. I'm convinced.
Final word, Drew.
Meow, meow, Viking cow.
Ted.
Go Vikings.
You guys take care. Stay. Good job on the trivia.
Go, everybody. Yep.